1,000 FBI agents to be working around the clock, 24 hours, going through more than 100,000 of these Epstein documents in the files, and apparently told them to flag any mentions or appearances or pictures of Donald Trump.
And again, as soon as the FBI finished that job in March of culling through those documents and flagging everything with Trump, that's when the about face happened, guys. So we don't know what they found in there, but it definitely changed their tune.
In other words, somebody finds something relating to Donald Trump, they turn it over. Are they then asked, are you loyal to Donald Trump? Will you do what we ask you to do? Are you going to turn this over to anybody else? And, this might be one of the most massive cover-ups in the history of the United States unfolding before our very eyes.
And speaking of the Graping America that I seen there, I've got something for you. For the Graping America, it's quite possibly the greatest sign I've ever seen. Right here, dude, look at this. It's the Trump sign. Fucking America because he can't fuck his daughter. Oh, look at that, bro. Tell me that ain't the best Trump sign out there. Dude, the grapist of wrath. Oh, shit. Dude, fucking America because he can't fuck his daughter. I mean, that's pretty much it. That is Trump in a nutshell, isn't it? I mean, it's brutal, but it speaks volumes. It's voluminous. Voluminous. What do I think is the breaking point? The breaking point for the MAGA people? You talking about like MAGA and Epstein? Because like, here's the deal, guys. You ready? So I don't think there is a breaking point. I mean, Trump sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll, and they just believe it's made up. So even if he's all over those files, even if he's in there and there's testimony from girls that Trump raped her when she was a teenager, they're not going to believe it. They will not believe, no matter what evidence. You know what I'm saying? No matter what evidence is confronted with Trump, they are not going to believe it. See, I think the damning thing here is the fact that Trump is covering it up, and they think he's not on the list. And so they're like, why is he covering it up? Which is really damning for him, because then it looks like he's protecting the deep state cabal. But dude, they're not, they would never believe it. But this is really interesting here because one of the things here, guys, is just looking at the overall arc of Donald Trump. Okay, this is what we have to look at. All of that circumstantial evidence that shows you that, yeah, this guy had a history of outrageous behavior. And so that's really important, like building this character of like showing prior behavior with this person, establishing a pattern, establishing a type of character, right? But now, guys, we are going to take a little dip here into the Katie Johnson scenario. So those of you who may or may not know about Katie Johnson, back in 2016, filed a lawsuit in, I believe it was in like Temecula, California or something. It was somewhere in San Bernardino County. Okay. She filed a lawsuit originally as Jane Doe, and then she went and her name was on the lawsuit. And this was a claim that when she was 13, Donald Trump raped her, okay? And there have been other young girls who have made claims like this. So what happened is, I guess this suit was filed in the San Bernardino County area of California, and then it just disappeared. She dropped it. She cited like threats. But there's a video circulating that we're going to watch here. She sued him for allegedly raping her. This was at Jeffrey Epstein's New York home. So it was that $80 million home. Okay, Wexner, the guy Epstein represented, gave him this crazy, it's like the biggest house in New York City. And so she made the claim that Trump raped her in Epstein's New York home when she was 13, and then after multiple death threats, she gave up the suit. Allegations are unproven. It's never gone to trial, and some sources question credibility. There's never been any proof to this. It's been around, but it's one of those things where it's always been sort of, you know, in the ether. Now, the thing about this, guys, is I think part of the reason why there's some credibility to this, okay, is because she's not the only girl who has made these types of allegations. Okay, again, going back to that discussion we had about circumstantial evidence, it's like if there was no impropriety of Donald Trump whatsoever, and some random person comes forward and says, hey, man, I got raped by Donald Trump when I was 13, it would be completely understandable to put a lot of doubt and skepticism on that claim, even though you want to believe victims, right? But it would be like, it would at least seem out of character, okay? But in this situation, there have been 27 credible rape accusations. There have been a number of women under the age of 18 who have said that Donald Trump sexually abused them, sexually assaulted them, skeezed on them at beauty pageants. There have been instances of him being involved in like the Look You competition with elite models, which has had an era of like guys hooking up with teenage girls. Of course, he's friends with Jeffrey Epstein, the sex trafficker. He's trying to put Matt Gaetz, a sex trafficker and a guy who has sex with teenage girls, into the attorney general spot. I mean, there's just so much evidence around Trump engaging in this behavior or being right on the boundaries of this behavior happening that it's just ultimately really believable, okay? It is just really believable. She alleged that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein made her their sex slave, extreme sexual and physical abuse, forcible rape over a 4-month time span when she was only 13, right? It was in the New York City apartment. And I guess there were a lot of like pretty raw claims around this. That is not her. That is Ivanka. That is Trump and Ivanka. But this allegation has been around quite a bit. There's indications here with some pretty strong language. Like what was wild about this, if you look into this suit, is there's actually like some really strong language that describes the acts of what happened in sort of excruciating detail.
I met a girl named Tiffany there who was very interested in me and said that, you know, that's what she did, is that she helped girls, you know, get what they wanted, and she could help me get into modeling, that she knew a lot of people that were higher ups and that it would be no problem. And so that's why, you know, but I would just basically have to come model at a couple of events and meet some people. It would be no sweat. So, of course I went, you know, that sounded like no big deal. And she was recruiting the girls to come to these parties. And they all looked, I mean, most of them were, you know, my age. There was, you know, maybe a couple girls that were maybe 14 or 15, but it seemed to me like we were all very young, so.
Okay.
Jeffrey Epstein knew that I was 13 years old. When he interviewed me, he asked me to get down to my bra, just my panties, and I thought that was weird, but I mean, modeling, maybe it was something about my figure. And he asked that I give him a massage. So and then he asked me my age. He asked me, and I told him, you know, I told him that I was 13. I told him why I was there. And he basically said, well, you'll do, you know, I'm sure that you'll fit pretty nicely here. And then he tried to basically slip himself inside of me, and I pushed him away, and I said, you know, because at that point in time I still believed that there was models and then there was the girls that did that. Like, I thought there was a separation. So you know, I told him that I wasn't interested in that, but he said that I would do. And as far as Donald Trump, he knew that I was 13, and I believe that Tiffany told him he seemed to take a liking to me because I was so young, and I was also a virgin. So I don't know. It seemed like he wasn't really into having girls that were liked by the other guys. He kind of, the whole glove. He kind of liked things to be his first. If that, for lack of a better term, but he was the one who wanted to get to a girl before everyone else did. Donald Trump knew that I was 13 because the first night that I was there, Tiffany actually suggested that she had a whole bunch of different wigs, and I expressed interest in them. I always told her that I would love to walk around with blue hair, and so I tried some on, and there was a blonde wig that she said that looked great on me. So I wore that wig, and Donald Trump had specifically asked about me because I remind him of his daughter, and she said, well, she's 13 as well. So he knew the first time that he saw me, but he took a liking to me because I looked like his daughter.
Yikes. That thing, she looked like his daughter. I mean, dude, it's why when you search Katie Johnson, I mean, dude, she was young, but if you search her on Twitter, you see that photo, right? Where you see her really young, look at her. And then right around that time, there was Trump's daughter. So yes, you see, like, absolutely. And I mean, dude, today we put some clips on the internet of Trump talking about sex referring to his daughter, which is so fucking creepy, but not completely unbelievable. Now, I wanted to address something to somebody in chat had said something about where are these girls' fathers. You need to understand, guys, that girls that get into this situation, it's like usually they're kids that don't have healthy boundary relationships, right? It's like girls that are growing up without good relationships with the father that find themselves being prey for these types of dudes. It's like girls from broken homes, girls from alcoholic families, girls where maybe they're getting abused at home. They're the ones that are most susceptible to these types of, like, I'll take you in kind of things. And then they fucking deal with shit. And I mean, all I can tell you is, for me, guys, I was sexually abused by 2 half-brothers in 2nd grade, and I didn't figure it out and come forward with it until I was almost 40, okay? I was almost 40, guys. I was more than 40. I was, like, in my 40s when I finally, like, sorted it out, because you tend to stuff that shit. When you're sexually abused, you just stuff it. You put it to a place where it fucking doesn't even exist. And then you engage in a whole bunch of, like, acting out in ways that you try to take power over those types of situations. And then, decades later, if you go get some therapy or whatever, eventually that shit comes out. It's like, it's just the way it is, right? It's a type of dissociation that happens when you go through that shit.
I did receive money to go to these parties. After every party, I was paid by Mr. Epstein. There wasn't, out of all the girls that were there with me, most of them were 13, 14. I think the oldest one might have been 16, just turned 16. He liked to watch other people have sex. I mean, it was he's a germ, doesn't like germs, so he, rather than partaking, he just watches. So and Tiffany had informed him that I was the virgin, and so I was basically, so it was Tiffany who introduced us.
Okay.
Second time that I saw Mr. Trump was same scenario. He was onlooking at an orgy, and Tiffany came over to me and said that Donald Trump had requested that I perform oral sex on him, and I'd never done something like that with anybody, so I was a little nervous. So I walked up to him and he was sitting there very proud, like, and I just kind of moved in that direction, and he kind of slapped me away and said, "What are you doing? You know, you need to put a condom on." Like I was some like dirty filth or something without a condom. Tiffany ran over and handed him a condom and apologized, profusely, and said that would never happen again after the party. So, but he just gave me the money. I don't even know why he gave it to me. Maybe to make me feel more cheap, but it was a pretty it was a rape fantasy to him, but I wasn't playing. So there was those 2 times, and then there was after the next thing that Tiffany approached me with was that he had a fantasy where he walked in on his maids basically making out, and that it was some type of fantasy for him. So she asked, at that point I was like, I don't want to be involved with anything that has to do with him. But she's like, you were just basically the other one. So there's nothing that you will have to do. Just don't, he's requesting you to be involved. So I reluctantly, I felt like I didn't have a choice there. But it was basically he's walking in, his 2 maids. I was one of the maids. I was the white maid. And there was a Spanish girl, Maria, who was the Hispanic maid. And we were making out, and he walks in and he gets really angry and threatens to call immigration on Maria if she doesn't come over and make things right and give him a blowjob. So while she is over there giving him a blowjob, I am just trying to, I'm supposed to look scared, like, oh no, and cleaning up things and pretending like I'm trying to go back to my job as a maid. And then he's being so rude to Maria. I felt so bad for her, even though I guess it just didn't seem like a fantasy. It didn't seem like it's the weirdest fantasy as far as that. He was threatening to call immigration on her. So that she didn't know how to,
Dude, threatening to call immigration, that just feels like the biggest Trump move, doesn't it? Doesn't that feel like just the biggest Trump move ever? He had undocumented workers all over his properties. And absolutely, like I can totally see Trump and Epstein threatening immigration, right? You know what I mean? Threatening, do what we want, or we're gonna fucking deport you.
Wasn't even near going down to give him, perform oral sex on him before he slapped her away and said, what are you doing? You need to put a condom on, and she's trying to, I'm so sorry, and he's like, you can't even understand what you're saying, speak English, he called her derogatory comments. And then he's like, you know what? You don't know what you're doing. Have her come over and show you how it's done. And so I said that I didn't, I had to go over there or else he was going to call immigration on Maria. I didn't know if it was true or not, but I felt that, he said that if I didn't show her how to perform oral sex on him, then he was going to call immigration on her and then get rid of us both. It was anything that was in relation to him getting off or being satisfied or happy had to do with him being in power.
Yeah.
But extreme power, and it's very.
Dude, that's what it always is. It's always using power to force somebody to engage in whatever behavior you want them to.
Homer said yesterday that all the Epstein files are missing. Can you confirm the status of them? We still haven't heard from you.
No, the FBI. Yeah, the FBI, they're reviewing. There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. and no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going through that.
But Bondi's obsession with the Epstein files wasn't just her freelancing. It's fair to assume it was coordinated with the White House, right? This is not an independent DOJ. Everything Bondi does is coordinated with the White House. The DOJ works for the White House in a way that no DOJ has ever worked for the White House since Nixon, at least. So then, and that's established, right? The question becomes, well, why did this White House abruptly shift course? Why did the DOJ come out last week and say, you know what? Nothing to see.
All gone.
Why has Donald Trump been spiraling ever since? I mean, we know he and Epstein were friends for years. The writer Michael Wolff has a recording of Epstein himself saying he was Trump's closest friend for a decade. Back in 2002, he told the New York Magazine that he'd known him for 15 years. Fun guy. If we couple this with today's revelations from Senator Durbin, which are gobsmacking, that 1,000 FBI agents doing 24-hour shifts tasked with flagging mentions of Trump in their Epstein research, and then the Wall Street Journal letter, as well as the fact the DOJ wants to redact not just victim-related stuff, but other personal identifying information. Well, I mean, at a certain point, the most plausible explanation for the facts is that there's some kind of cover-up here.
Something, yes.
The DOJ was tasked with vetting Epstein materials for mentions of the president Donald Trump, his buddy of 15 years, who said that Jeffrey Epstein liked young women. And then subsequently, a decision was made not to release any more information on Epstein.
Weird. What is up, guys? Thank you so much for watching. You like the video, you want to support independent resistance media, you know what to do. Drop that sub, hit the like button, and please share it. And we do love our members, so if you want to become a member, it's another really great way to support. Thanks again for everything, guys. I'll see you next time. Let's go.